A lawsuit has been filed against an all-white settlement in North Arkansas known as Return to the Land.
It first made headlines last summer when its founders went public about their plans to establish communities across the U.S. that ban anyone with heritage that is not white and European. Channel 7's Chris Gay spoke with one of the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. He joins us now in our content center with more. Chris
and Beth, Return to the Land has been building a settlement that promotes racial and ethnical segregation near Ravenden in North Lawrence County, but now a lawsuit could challenge the settlement's discriminatory application process.
What they're doing is a brazen violation of existing law. It's just that no one has sued them or really taken any concrete action to stop this.
Kendall Llewellyn with Legal Aid of Arkansas, one of the plaintiffs in the lawsuit, states that the lawsuit was brought on behalf of Michelle Walker of St. Louis, who went through Return to the Land's application process. She reportedly did this not for the purpose of living in the community, but for the purpose of taking advantage of what she considered prime real estate.
She was effectively denied the opportunity to purchase housing.
Llewellyn states that the settlement violates the Fair Housing Act in addition to numerous civil rights laws.
You cannot restrict the sale of real estate based on race or religion or a number of other protected classes.
Legal Aid says that though Michelle Walker is white, she was denied the chance to be a part of Return to the Land because she is married to a black man, has biracial children, and has Jewish ancestry.
They've been fairly explicit in the media about the fact that they only accept people who they consider to be white.
In a copy of the lawsuit, images were included of the questions Walker had to answer during her application process, including answering this question: which of the following religions would she not tolerate in a community? The options included Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and others. Other questions asked if she supported segregation, procreation, and multiculturalism. According to the settlement social media page, they addressed the lawsuit, stating that Walker was not rejected from buying land. Their website also now states that Return to the Land does not engage in the sale or rental of real estate, despite the lawsuit showing an image of the settlement's message on their website stating that their property is for members of the LLC.
They will sell members a share of an LLC, and with that LLC comes land, which they believe is a way to get around existing civil rights laws.
When Return to the Land first made headlines last summer, Attorney General Tim Griffin vowed to investigate potential legal issues with this settlement. A spokesperson with the AG's office told me today that they are still investigating the group. On your side, I'm Chris Gay.
Okay, Chris, thank you very much. For a link to that lawsuit and to hear more from Legal Aid of Arkansas, just head over to our website, katv.com.
A Jewish woman named Michelle Walker was denied when applying to the organization Return to the Land. She's now suing them for discrimination with the backing of the NAACP. Return to the Land, if you didn't know, is a whites-only intentional community in Arkansas that's run by Eric Orwoll. They've made lots of headlines, garnered a good bit of support in the last year or so. Michelle's denial isn't much of a surprise, since the organization has an explicit emphasis on only allowing those with European ancestry into the organization. So as a Jewish woman married to a black man, you'd think that the rejection would be less of a shock. Now, Michelle has the NAACP's legal defense fund on her side, and if allowed, they will likely make this as politicized and expensive a legal case as possible. Just to be clear, RTTL is acting perfectly within their rights. They have broken no laws and are very intentionally preparing a legal blueprint for future replication. The likelihood that people will want to begin participating in or creating organizations like this of their own in the future is very high. They've been expecting a legal case like this for some time now. Why is that? Because when white people want to play by the same rules as everybody else, panic immediately ensues. Now, just a quick reminder, if you are a black person, Jewish person, Hispanic, Asian, you have a laundry list of organizations that act solely for the purpose of protecting your rights as an identity group. You have ethnic enclaves created for you to be able to live among your own people, and despite the fact that our ancestors built the nation that everybody wants to live in, we as whites are expected to continue bending the knee to everyone else. We support the economy, and we're supposed to accept that we shouldn't be allowed communities of our own. If Michelle wins this lawsuit, it will force RTTL to sell the land, which will make families and their children homeless. They will lose everything that they've worked towards. Remember, guys, this is a private membership association. organization for people with European heritage, a club for people who simply want to preserve white culture through intentionally building a community together. That's it. The thing that every race and subrace of humanity has done throughout all of recorded history, by the way. According to Michelle, she was under the impression that they had land for sale, which they didn't. She applied for membership, got denied, and claims that this violates the Fair Housing Act. For clarity, the organization doesn't have land available for sale to the public. That's not something that they do. She misunderstood the mainstream media's representation of their operation, and now she claims that they owe her for both emotional and financial damages. So essentially, she's playing the victim card. Now, let's put this into perspective. An affluent real estate Jew is threatening the safety of a small amount of low-income homesteading Americans and their children because all they want to do is be left alone in the middle of nowhere. So in other words, you as a white person must accept increased inflation from government overspending, foreign wars, shitty job market because we're outsourcing jobs to low-wage foreign invaders who come into your home, take your job, make your community less safe, and instead of making a big deal out of it all, you just want to move away to bumfuck Arkansas and be amongst like-minded people. And this very act gets you slandered in the public eye, labeled as an evil racist, and attacked through lawfare by a subversive Marxist civil rights organization. Michelle and the NAACP are making a blatant and overt attempt to mischaracterize this organization and lie about what they stand for and stomp out any future possibility of whites being able to stand up for themselves. It is an attack on white people and must not be interpreted in any other way. What is the takeaway? This is an unprecedented and pivotal moment for white America. If RTTL is not allowed to continue forging their own path, pursuing the ability to freely associate, this will set a tone for a much more radical future. These people all stand for white America. They stand for you. They represent you. A lot is riding on this, guys, and we have to rally behind these men and women with our support. If you'd like to contribute to the RTTL Legal Defense Fund, please send what you can to their GiveSendGo link, givesendgo.com/RTTL-legal-fees. I will link it in the description as well. A little goes a long way if we all chip in. And this is perhaps the most consequential legal case for white people in recent history. Remember, white man, do not let your European sense of diplomacy and sophistication persuade you into finding consensus with people who treat you this way. This is not a misunderstanding. This is not socioeconomics. This is a brazen, audacious, and intolerable effort to kill you. People like this want you and your family's prosperity to perish in flames.
Let's talk about books for a moment. One of the most impactful ways you can support this show while expanding your own knowledge is by checking out our publishing sponsors. We've partnered with 3 exceptional publishers who share our commitment to bringing you literature that goes above and beyond the mainstream. Banned by Amazon, Antelope Hill Publishing, and Clemens & Blair. Each of these publishers offers a unique catalog of books, media, and materials that you simply won't find in traditional bookstores. Whether you're looking for historical perspectives, alternative viewpoints, or rare literary works, these sponsors might have what you need. Here's the best part. All 3 are offering our listeners a discount. Just visit bannedbyamazon.com, antelopehillpublishing.com, or clemensandblair.com and use code NNR at checkout. That's NNR for a discount on your order.
Night Nation Review now has its own convenient super chat system built directly into our website. Just go to nightnationreview.com, pick an amount, write your message, and send it directly from our own site. Payment is completed securely. After payment clears, your message is logged privately for the host and delivered to a secure back-end dashboard.
I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I dream of freedom, just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man, even if that song will run. I gun. Born a free man, die a free man. Even if that's on the run, I dream of freedom. Just me and my little machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man. Even if that's on the run, I dream of freedom. Just me and my little machine gun. machine gun. Born a free man, die a free man. Even if that's on the run.
Welcome to Night Nation Review. Nightly at 10 p.m. Available only at nightnation.live.
All right, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm joined, of course, tonight by Eric Orwoll of Return to the Land. So, welcome, Eric. And I was kind of playing a little bit of stuff there in the pre-show about the struggle you guys have been under recently, but you guys are planned for it. So maybe if you don't mind, fill us in and tell everybody what you guys are about and what the fight is for.
Yeah, sure thing. Man, you did me so dirty in that AI image. I look 10 years older. There's like loose skin on my...
That's GVT's fault, man. You know what I did, bro? I used your I screenshotted your Twitter, and that's what it thought of your Twitter profile picture. So maybe it's time for like an upgrade. You know, you're looking sharp tonight, though. You know, you got to just use that one.
All right, appreciate that. Yeah, so we've been at this for about 3 years now. We're a private membership association, of course, for people of European heritage. Just to dispel the biggest confusion, a lot of people think that Return to the Land is this intentional community here in Arkansas, and that is not the case. These are separate entities. We are all Return to the Land members here in this intentional community in Arkansas, but Return to the Land is just a private club. We don't own assets. There's nothing like that. This community has chosen to make Return to the Land membership a criterion for joining us, but just because you join RTTL doesn't mean you necessarily get to buy into the land here and join the community. So we launched this intentional community in October of 2023. I've been around for, I don't know, like 12, 13, 14 years in these spaces, loosely talking about identitarian issues, but also philosophy and, you know, different interests that I happen to have on my YouTube channel. And I've advocated for intentional community basically from the beginning. When I first started realizing the state of demographic change in the country, how quickly things are really being transformed. And I saw it myself growing up. I grew up in Southern California, and like when I was a little kid, just barely, my hometown was still like almost plurality white. And by the time I graduated high school and was ready to leave, we were like 30% or less. So I just visibly saw my hometown transform over my life. And then it's happened since then. Like I lived in this small town outside of Albany, New York for a while. And it was a beautiful town, like 95% white. You know, one of these towns that's been around for 200, 250 years. And overnight, it transformed because Amazon put in a distribution center. So many people have experienced this, and some of the co-founders had similar experiences where they no longer felt comfortable where they grew up. They no longer felt like it was a safe place to raise their kids. And so, yeah, I mean, I came to the conclusion that our only real option is self-segregation. You know, I'm not a top-down segregationist. I don't think the government should forcibly segregate the races, because I actually do believe in the American system and the rights that American citizens have. I think it's workable. You know, would I rather we had kept with the spirit of like the 1790 Naturalization Act and remained with the intention of the founders? Yeah, but it's kind of too late for that. You know, it's like half the country practically is non-white. So what are you going to do? I believed in this approach of building parallel institutions, communities, schools, businesses. You know, in a lot of ways, we are restricted in what we're able to do and how we're able to organize. But there are things that we can do besides just complaining about the state of affairs online, besides doing conventional street activism, which a lot of people, when they get involved in the movement, that's all they can think of. Well, I better go out and march in the street. I better go put stickers up. I better get the word out. But there's a lot more that we can do. And there's a lot that other groups historically have done to secure their rights and their interests in this country, like legal advocacy orgs, like intentional communities. You know, Jews, when they came to this country, They built their own nonprofits. They built their own
yeah.
schools. They built their own communities. And that's why they were able to have this outsized influence on government. It's not an accident, right?
Right.
And our camp broadly tends to kind of think in terms of there has to be bottom up, like revolutionary action, or
Right.
top down infiltration, and there's essentially nothing in between that. And it's just not true. Neither of those are things that we can do right now. Whereas what we can do is build all the necessary infrastructure for a real movement, an organized movement of multiple organizations, multiple nonprofits, multiple NGOs, multiple lobbying groups. So Return to the Land, the vision isn't just intentional communities. It is, let's build a parallel society in many ways. One of the things we're doing, we're converting from a simple private membership association, which is actually not even incorporated, it's just a private club status, into a 501c8 fraternal benefit society,
Interesting.
which will allow us A, to receive tax deductible donations, which will be great. And then B, we can offer benefits to our members that other organizations aren't able to do, like insurance benefits. We can have relationships with credit unions as a 501c8. So we're exploring a bunch of avenues. People come into the association from different backgrounds with different either legal experience or corporate experience. And we take their advice. So we're very, very open to new people coming into the association, improving our practices. And we rethink and we've reshaped a lot just in the 3 years that we've existed. But we certainly have scaled very, very quickly. We're now over 1,000 members in just 3 years. A lot of that growth was the last. Wait, did I just disappear?
No, you're on screen.
Okay. Yeah, my screen minimized for some reason. Not sure what's
okay.
up. Anyway,
if you got it back, I'll just continue. But no, that's great. I like what you guys are doing. I think you guys come at it from a very professional grade angle, and I think people don't maybe even realize, but this idea of the requirement that our people hold land and hold territory, this was always part of white nationalism, and this from the very get go, the territorial imperative was critical, because what is a people if they have no place to call their rooted home, right? Then you're a diaspora, and I think we can all point to some examples of those, and I think that's what we don't want. I mean, I think white people would survive even as a diaspora, but I think that would be a far less than desirable outcome. I think we need to have this rooted thing, and we need to be involved in the systems that already exist. So it's fantastic that you guys are pulling from people with professional backgrounds and people with all sorts of real actual functional backgrounds and histories that can contribute something meaningful and productive to the cause and to the effort. I've often been a pretty big critic of this idea that everything is what you described, right? When people come to it, they want to emulate the sort of 1960s protest movement stuff. And, that has a place. It certainly has a value for raising awareness, but where does that value end? And then what else could we do? And what you guys are doing is a great example of something it's real, it's productive, it's practical, it's professional grade, and it sets an example. If you guys are able to face this legal challenge that you're going into and win, that's going to be massive.
Yeah, obviously we agree. It could set very important precedent. We've been speaking with lawyers, and a lot of them feel the same way. It tends to be mixed. I mean, we get advice from some attorneys who feel like our chances are not good. And then we talk to attorneys who believe that we have a very strong chance. In this particular lawsuit, we think that their team has made a number of very elementary mistakes in characterizing what it is that we're doing. Essentially, we structured to avoid doing precisely what they're now accusing us of doing.
Right.
We actually don't sell real estate at all. This community here, which again is not the same as Return to the Land, we're all Return to the Land members, but if you join this community, you buy a share in the company that holds the land. You don't get a deed to land. There's no real estate transaction, and it's not just like a workaround where effectively it's real estate, it's like you're actually joining an intentional community. You actually abide by certain rules here. Now, we're relatively laissez-faire, but you can't just do anything you want with this land as if it was your land. It is a communal effort. It is an intentional community. And there are other intentional communities that already structure in similar ways. Essentially, what it's going to come down to is the distinction between the private domain and the public domain. Because all of the legal rationale behind the Fair Housing Act, Civil Rights Act, and similar anti-discrimination laws, I don't know if I'm coming through not your headphones, maybe another speaker, because I'm hearing occasionally
let me try something.
some feedback.
How about that? Is that better?
Maybe, I'll see.
I think I might also have a speaker open. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no worries. So, yeah, all of the rationale for the Fair Housing Act, Civil Rights Act, anti-discrimination law is in terms of the government has an obligation to safeguard access of its citizens to public markets. Right? Like the classic example is some black guy is traveling across country and all of the hotels he wants to stop at refuse to do business with him. And that's not right, right? The government has some obligation to help its citizens access public accommodations, public businesses, public real estate markets. But that doesn't extend to all of our activities as people. We also have the private domain. And there is case law that supports the ability of private clubs to effectively discriminate in who they decide to associate with. Country clubs, until very recently, commonly would have policies against admitting Jews, against admitting blacks, and the courts upheld this time and time again. So this is something that hasn't quite been tested because there isn't an organization that's structured in exactly the way that we have. A case like this hasn't come before the courts. There are other housing providers, and we don't consider ourselves a housing provider, so I shouldn't say other housing providers. Like, we're a homesteading group. We have built our own housing. When one member decides to leave the community and they sell their share, it's like we collectively aren't selling that share. That's a private transaction between various members, right? But other housing providers who are private clubs have been sued in the past along these same lines of discrimination. And in a series of decisions over the last 60 years, the courts have generally, their tactic has been to strip them of their private status and say effectively or de facto they were somehow doing business with the public, and by saying you admitted too many members, or your association was too broad, or this or that. So we've looked carefully at the case law and made sure that the way that we've structured, the way that we've presented ourselves, the way we do business is in accord with all of those decisions so that we don't run afoul of the law. So it's really ironic. Like, we have invested a lot of resources, tens of thousands of dollars over the last years to make sure that we're not violating the law. And yet we knew, because of the nature of who we are and what it looks like to the casual observer, that we would actually face this pushback. So it's not just the one lawsuit either. There's another lawsuit that really doesn't have to do with discrimination or anything like that. It's against one of our members, and then they tied in all of the companies associated with RTTL into that, effectively to harass us. That one, basically nothing has happened in the last months. They seem to have abandoned it. They don't have a case. Like, the original subject matter of the suit involving one of our members itself is pretty baseless. So that one's kind of just trivial. But we're also under investigation, multiple federal investigations, state investigations. And, we'll see how it all pans out in the end. It's encouraging that, and this was mentioned in one of those news clips you played, the Attorney General of Arkansas has been looking at the matter for over a year. And the last time a reporter asked his office, a spokesperson said they haven't found any evidence of illegality in what we're doing. And I should hope so, because we've tried not to violate the law. But this is basically the anarcho-tyranny dynamic, where the rules are vague enough that when they do it, when they have Curious Joel, when they have Freedom Georgia, the black community, when they have the Epic Muslim community, like, they're able to get away with it.
This
But
one's
then if
Shifia. I
we
want to
do
ask
it-
you about this one, Shefa or something. This one's for Jews. This is in North Carolina, Mountain View, Sheffield. You heard of this one yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing, right?
Relatively recently started. Yeah. And they're advertising that as effectively like, hey, buy into this real estate project, and relatively publicly as well. Now, I have no issue with that. I don't
Same.
care if a bunch of Orthodox Jews want to move to the mountains in North Carolina and have a community. Why should I care? Right? What business is it of mine? And then by the same token, like, why should any Jew care that we have a small white community? It's well known that there are a lot of white people in this country who feel that the demographic change is happening very fast. They don't feel comfortable in their hometowns like I did. And they're looking for solutions. They're concerned about violent crime from certain groups. Like, you don't want to live in downtown Baltimore or downtown Rochester, New York, or, so many cities across the country. And yet, if we simply try to withdraw and do our own thing peacefully, they pursue us, they come after us, they attack us. And of course, the trope is that we are the victimizers and they are somehow victim groups. It's the victim mentality. Okay, if we were really victimizing people as a race, they wouldn't chase us to the ends of the earth and hunt us down and make sure we couldn't separate peacefully from them.
They'd be running from us, and they'd be terrified that we were going to show up if we were really coming after them in the way that they're characterizing it. And you're right. I mean, the hypocrisy of it is so disgusting. You can't leave and you can't stay. If you stay, you suffer all the hardships and costs they impose upon us. And then if we leave, they say, "Oh, you've done gentrification. You've gone to do separatism. How dare you?" And it's just so amazing, because all those other ones you listed are true too. That blacks do it, the Jews do it, all these groups that have a problem with white people do it. When they do it, it's okay. When we do it, it's not. So it's this really glaring double standard. And as you said, anarcho tyranny, right? It's just they can apply it, these rules, whenever they want to whoever they want, or they can just choose to ignore them. And that seems to be how it is. They get to pick and choose. So if you guys do have, and God knows, we hope you do, if you guys succeed and this actually does go up to being a Supreme Court case and they actually set precedent, will this really open the door so that this could be a wider thing, so that not only is there let's say a franchising, I guess, of other RTTL sponsored settlements, but also other similar projects say, okay, well, those guys did it right. It worked. We want to do our own thing. It's a little bit different in these ways. We're going to go do our own thing. And I could see this mushrooming out like really pretty well. And all of a sudden there's all different variations. There's some different variances in white people and what we like. And some people don't like this kind of white people and some like that kind. And some have this kind of lifestyle and all this sort of stuff, right? So there could be a lot of variation. And I don't see any reason why not to. So I think you guys are in a unique position to actually face this down and kind of set the precedent that everyone needs.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my perspective is that any decision here is better than where we are now, which is that people don't even know what's okay and what's not okay when it comes to creating our own communities. There were discussions in online circles going back years. I mean, Jared Taylor has been advocating for intentional communities he didn't know the term intentional community, but effectively he was advocating for the same thing like 30 years ago. I mean, I remember coming up on YouTube in 2017, 2018. I've been on since like 2012, but people weren't really talking about. I feel like I was the only guy on YouTube in right-wing spaces really pushing intentional communities are the solution back then. But others also advocated for it. They called it like the fifth political theory, or they called it the Benedict option. That's more a Christian movement. But yeah, I mean, people would have conversations. What actually are we able to do? People discussed it on live streams. I remember there was a discussion on the Worski show back when he still had JF Garriepi on. That was in 2017, 2018. And like, you would have all these comments saying, well, I'm pretty sure that's illegal, or they're going to come after us. And there's all this uncertainty. And people have speculated, well, maybe if one guy owns all the land and everyone else just kind of stays there, people have tried that. Groups have already tried things like this, but there hasn't been a framework that gives people secure property rights and a stake in a collective endeavor where it's accountable and transparent and guided by contract. You don't just want to trust some guy who sets up a community on his own private land and then build a house there that effectively belongs to him. But yeah, I mean, people have tried a lot of different things. So if we do set that precedent, yes, I think people will seriously think about emulating our model. I think our membership will also balloon. We're a very decentralized organization. We have no issue with others emulating us and doing their own thing, but there are a lot of details to get right, even like aside from discrimination law, right? Like forming a community is a complex endeavor, and you really want people who have done it before. Like the reason I think we're even successful in the first place is that our secretary, our main guy who came up with the majority of our contracts and did the work of really establishing our legal framework, he managed a community and founded a community for 10 years in Ecuador. He had a different ideology. It was a totally different concept down there.
I heard this was like a sustainable thing he was doing, right? I'd seen something in a documentary. I didn't know how much to take of it because these documentaries, right? They're always like 60% hit pieces. So, but
sure,
yeah, he did have a background in it, though, right?
Right. Yeah. He founded this thing. There were multiple communities down there. He brought expats in and helped them acquire land nearby. It was a fruitarian community. So they only ate fruit. That was the concept behind it was sort of about like, it was an eco village, sustainable living, but they thought like all of our problems would be solved if we just only ate fruit from now on. So, he obviously changed his mind. Right. He started eating meat again. And then suddenly, he was a Wignat within days. So, it's not for nothing. Eat your steak and eggs. But so, yeah, you need, I'm getting sidetracked. You need people with experience to do this effectively. There's a lot of laws pertaining to development that you can, not adequately take account of. Even like the spacing, you might think, okay, well, people need like a half acre, so I'll buy 20 acres, divide it into half acre plots. Well, in most states, that's not going to be possible unless you're on city sewer. And if you're out in a rural area where land is affordable, there probably won't be city sewer or rural sewer. Probably you'll have to have septic tanks. And then your state, your county probably has codes regarding how close septic tanks can be situated, what the inspection requirements are. There's just a lot of legal requirements at every step of the process. And also on the contract side, it's like if you aren't really careful in establishing your contracts and you get a few lines wrong, well, then down the road, if you have an aggrieved party, they could end up nullifying the whole thing because it was a bad contract in the first place, and then your community's gone. So you need legal representation, but really you need people who are on your side, who have experience doing this. So I do recommend, if you want to do this, there's really no cost. Technically, there's a $25 initial membership fee. That's it, one time. But besides that $25, there's no cost to joining Return to the Land. And you can have access to all the members. You can network with people. You can learn skills. And if people like use RTTL to set up communities the right way, and then break away, and which they can do. Like, we don't own the communities that are started under RTTL. So if they decide to do that, fine. I have no problem with that.
Like that. See, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that either. Like, you guys are sort of like a seeding organization, the RTTL, so that these little groups could break away if they want to. I didn't understand that at all. So it's interesting, right? How much misinformation gets out there, even among people who are very sympathetic or even totally supportive of what you guys are up to. It still doesn't completely, all the details maybe don't quite seep out there.
Right. Well, it's complex, and we make it more complex over time, because when it comes time where they actually sue us, we want them to have to go through this LLC, that trust, this fraternal benefits society, this private membership association, this and that and the other, and it's actually helpful. That's why corporations structure that way, where this shell company owns this shell company, which owns this, and then the actual owner is some unnamed agent out of Wyoming or something. So we we do make it difficult to understand, sort of intentionally, the full picture. And a lot of the information is proprietary. Like, you can't have access to all the latest documents that we work off of unless you're in the association. And we don't distribute that stuff to all members either. So it is a hostile environment. Now, on back to your original question there, though. So if we set that precedent that, yes, what we're doing is legal, then yeah, RTTL is going to balloon. Related organizations are going to balloon. And that's going to be really good for the pro-white movement broadly, because we also seed not just communities, but we seed other organizations, because people actually get to know each other. If they have a common stake in communities, and we also do recreational properties, if they're getting together, they own land together, they want to develop that land together, they develop a working relationship, well, they also build businesses, they also build other types of advocacy organizations. And so that's going to be just a really good thing for white people in general, just like all the communities, all the NGOs, all the organizing was really good for Jews. So I think it'll be a golden age for the movement. I think it'll really be a game changer. Now, if we don't win this suit and the precedent goes in the other direction, well, at least it's no longer anarcho-tyranny in this particular respect. At least now we know what our actual options are. And like, in these spaces, I've been a relative moderate, saying like, okay, guys, it's like, it's not actually time to get out the ammo boxes. We still have things we can try. We can do something peaceful. We respect the rights of other groups to do what they want. You know, I'm not hostile to Jewish Americans. I'm not hostile to Black Americans. I love that they want to do that in Freedom Georgia. Like, that's my rhetoric, right? And if they say, no, that's too hostile and extreme, boy, will they be surprised with what follows, you know, because it's not going to get more moderate. People like me will no longer be in the picture, or if anything, it'll radicalize me to join the people on the fringe who they're growing in numbers really quickly. So I don't think that's an outcome they actually want.
No, very well said. You guys are very moderate. I mean, I've seen a lot of what you guys have put out from all of your various socials, some of your media, some of your streams. I've seen a lot of it, you know, and even when they try to get you guys in hit pieces, they don't really have a lot to work with. They always kind of come in there like, well, what do you think of Hitler? It's like, well, Hitler's not here. Hitler's been dead for almost 100 years. We're doing something here. Like, this has nothing to do with any of that. Like, and they can't, that's all they can do is to bring it around to their usual boogeyman stuff, which has, you know, nothing to do with what you're doing, at least not in any direct way. But you guys, whenever you guys are presenting this, it seems very peaceful. I mean, it seems like you guys are just going to do and build your own stuff. I don't see how anybody in good faith can have a problem with that. Unless, of course, you guys had the power to shut down all the blacks and the Jews and the whoever else from doing their own, you know, settlements. And you don't want to. So, like, they don't really have a good case as to why you guys shouldn't be able to do what you want. So
it's just paranoia, really. Right. They're afraid that if they let us have any space to ourselves, it will just be Nazi Germany again.
Right.
That's the literal fear, especially for Jews. You know, it's not only Jews, but I do get a lot of messages from Black people, from Hispanics who are sympathetic. It's like Afro Man endorsed our community.
Nice.
You know,
wow, I didn't know that. It's cool.
He wants to do an all Black community. So they asked him about, like, some interviewer, I think it was Channel 5 on YouTube, asked him about us, and he was like, I'm with it. I'm all for it. So
that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jews are paranoid, though. It is a thing. And, you know, they can't afford to be led by their paranoia in that respect, because their traditional allies, the non-white coalition that they've built up over the last several decades, is no longer with them. Like, the golem they constructed to defeat their enemy, it has now turned on them. They see Jews as white supremacists. They see Israel as a white colonial settler state. It's like the only real allies Jews in America and worldwide have are conservative white people. So if they try to eliminate the moderate identitarian whites when they are desperately in need of exactly that kind of alliance, what happens next? Then it's the far right, which is actually emotionally anti-Semitic. Like, the things they talk about, Jews act like we think every single last Jewish person is simply evil. They're like demons incarnate. It's like, well, actually, you go far enough to one side, and that is the common belief.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, totally. So in my chat. Yeah, right. No, it's. I know what you mean exactly. I mean, it's funny. You're right, though. They have thrown that under the bus in the most extreme way with what they did following October 7th. They all of that coalition that they've built up, all the leftist coalition, which they had infused with all this anti-white rhetoric for so long. They all started to say, oh, wait a minute, these are the colonialist, occupier, white supremacy project. And they don't make any differentiation. The average black American makes no differentiation between an average white person like us and, I don't know, Jerry Seinfeld. They can't see it. It's like they can't see it for some reason. Maybe it's just a skin tone thing, but whatever. But yes, you're right. They've cut loose all of their traditional allegiances and alliances. So now that's it. They got the evangelicals. If they lose that, they're screwed.
It's true. And evangelicals, like, we're in the Bible Belt here, and local people generally support what we're doing. So, like, the evangelical community will see an attack by a Jewish woman on a group of white families homesteading together for what it is. And I think rightly. And look at her face, man. It's like, it's every time. She's married to a black man. She's overweight. Look at that physiognomy. Also, thanks. A rich woman who, like, she said it in the clip that you played also. It's like she didn't want to actually live here. She wanted to take advantage of a good deal on real estate.
It's like the meme, you know?
It's too much. It's too much. And people see it. And she's really not coming across well, even in the mainstream media. Like, there was a New York Times article where they interviewed her, and I didn't read the whole thing. I just saw a clip from it. But, like, even the Jewish journalist from the Times was like, now, were you really applying because you wanted to join them? Like, she didn't believe this was a good faith effort for her to join our community. So I don't think it's going to, play well with the public. It still could be the case that the courts side with her, and we've tried to do our best on the legal side. But there are a lot of laws out there. And, like, could it be that we just overlooked something? I mean, at the end of the day, the way our legal system works, power resides with judges. We could conceivably, we could conceivably have a jury trial. And in that case, the power would reside with the jury. I don't think our trial will go, or our case will go to trial or go to, before a jury at any point in time, because the point of a jury is to establish matters of fact. And we don't really agree or disagree, rather, with the plaintiff on a lot of matters of fact, other than how she is characterizing our association. As far as, like, what happened, she applied to our association and we rejected her. Okay, that's kind of cut and dry. That's what happened, right? It's really a matter of law. And when it's simply a matter of interpreting the law and is this legal or illegal, those sorts of cases usually just get decided by a judge. So this judge in the Eastern District of Arkansas, it's a federal court, and we know who the judge is. He's someone who is basically ruled by the book. He's not super ideological. He was an Obama appointee, but it's a white guy. And I look at that record where he has looked at precedent, he has looked at the letter of the law rather than some agenda, and I'm encouraged that it'll be the right decision just at the first level. That's where we set precedent, and we don't have to go any further. Because if we do go further, it could get very, very expensive. Now, we should all be willing. Like, I've thrown in everything I possibly can. I'm living here, and if we lose, I lose everything. Like, all of my stuff is invested in return to the land,
Talk about skin in the game, man. A lot of people talk about that.
We have to have it. But we all should be willing, if it has to go to the Supreme Court, to pay for that fight. And that's a lot of lawyers' time. That's a lot of money. That's going to be... Now, right now, we've raised enough. People have been very, very generous. And you have the legal fund pulled up. It's givesendgo.com/RTTL-legal-fees. And people have been very generous. So we will, if it gets decided by the judge and that's it, we'll easily be able to pay for our representation up to that point. If it goes any further, well, then there's really no saying. There's no telling, rather. We'd also like the opportunity to be able to consider countersuit, right? Because if we know that this lady was joining under false pretenses and that this could be considered some kind of frivolous lawfare against us, well, you can go after them. And she's backed by the NAACP. She's wealthy herself. She has the legal aid fund of Arkansas. So the fact that they have deep pockets, that works for them in that they can hire the best lawyers, supposedly, or it can work against them because that's a big target to go after.
Right.
So, all donations will go towards the legal fight, either proactively or on the defense. Obviously, we have to prioritize defense at this stage. And, we as a movement have to get a lot more savvy with our whole legal structure. We have to have legal advocacy organizations. We have to be chipping in to the legal fight on a regular basis, and not in an ad hoc way where okay, Chud, is now on trial and he's going to need to pay for this and that, and now we support Chud, or whatever, Shiloh Hendricks is going to court and now we have to support. We can't individually, case by case, just support people like this. For now, it's all we have, unfortunately, and we are a very generous people, and that's a good thing. On the other side, though, it's not in the way that we would want them to be, but the Jewish community is very generous, actually. They effectively tithe to their political organizations, to groups like the ADL. But they don't have unlimited resources, and there are a lot more of us. So if we build the right kind of organizations, we can wage serious legal battles that really have to be fought. A lot of people are kind of jaded with the possibility. They think the courts are simply too far gone. Well, the reason they're like this, though, is that we have not had our own organizations and they had theirs. So, of course, that's the way the courts developed. It's unfortunate, but and it's not like previous activists haven't tried to get involved in legal fights. I mean, there are famous pro-white lawyers out there, Sam Dixon for one, who have taken high-profile cases and tried their best and ran into a wall. A lot of it's also bad appointees, judges who are ideological, and whenever Democrats get in, they try to pack courts. That is something they do.
Absolutely.
So it's not one silver bullet solution, we just need this legal aid fund and that's going to result in immediate victory. No, real victory where we secure the rights of white Americans means a decades-long struggle. But first things first, and in order to build political influence, we do have to have the threat that we have our own resources, legally speaking, and we will come after you if you attack our rights. Now, we do have one advantage, that our enemies are either over emboldened and they make reckless mistakes like we believe these people are making in their complaint letter, which half of the whole thing is a screed against white nationalism.
Wow.
Right? And we don't even call ourselves a white nationalist organization anyway. Yeah. They call us white supremacists. I've never said I'm a white supremacist.
Right.
Well,
any white person that doesn't hate themselves is a white supremacist for them.
Right. Yeah, but I think they live in their ideological bubble world, and they're constantly reinforced in their priors by their online circles and their leftist discourse. Right. And I think they're overconfident also from decades of victories. Now, one of the main reasons the left is so powerful is Jews organizing behind them. One of the things that I think kind of has to happen, and I think actually a lot of Jews recognize it, is that the powerful Jews, people like Stephen Miller, have to reorganize. People, maybe even like Jared Kushner, they have to reorganize and realign. Now, I'm not saying trust them necessarily and just, hey, yeah, we can just be kumbaya, forget our differences. But the enemy of my enemy is maybe not my best friend, but we can at least maybe work together. So here, it is in the Jewish interest to allow us our right to do this so that we allow them their right, to remain in the country. because the alternative, if they radicalize us further, is maybe the people talking about ammo boxes get their way and their talking points win on our side. And again, I'm like one of the guys who have been saying, let's not do that. Actually, here, we can try some other things first. Now, if I am just demonstrated to be wrong, proven wrong, that's not good for Jews in America. So I hope that, like, these federal investigations, I hope that sensible people in the Jewish community see that it's not actually a threat to them to have white communities in rural areas, or even to have many of these communities. I don't see it as a threat for Jews to have the, kibbutzim in Israel, or communities in Russia, or communities in the US. It's like, it's really not a threat to me. And I know that Jews are very proactive and they do try to influence things. It's like, well, at a certain level, fine. That's fair game. You try to influence the political system, we'll try to influence the political system. It's just we've not been organized. Now, I think it gets, we should sort of shift topic here a little bit. I think it gets down to the nature of who we are as a race, compared to these other groups, where we grew up, evolutionarily speaking, or just historically speaking, in large, homogeneous white countries. That's why white nationalism is so natural to us. We're like, well, the solution is it should just be white people in the country.
Right.
Yeah, right. Because that's what it was like for your ancestors, your great grandparents, et cetera, going back down the line. For Jews, it was never like that. They were always a small minority group in a context with a bunch of other cultures that were visibly different.
Yeah.
So they evolved. The way they developed was to have this hyper focus on in-group, to be very skeptical of outsiders, and to wage effectively perpetual full spectrum warfare on their neighbors to ensure their survival. Yeah. So, but white people, we are very good with abstraction. It's like we developed all these philosophies, all this science. And so even though it's not in our nature, like it is in the nature of Jews to engage in this group competition, we can figure it out, and we are figuring it out, actually. So we've become very sophisticated compared to where we were even 5 years ago. I see the pace of that development quickening with technology, with things like AI. AI has downsides, but also as a research tool, as a tool for writing legal contracts, for like understanding the legal system better and how to get involved and get started in it.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. And, white people, white men in particular, tend to use these new cutting edge tools in the best possible way of all the other groups. So in adapting changing environment with new information technologies, we are the ones who can actually capitalize on it. We are the ones who can change the way that we organize and the way we do things to have a leg up that other people won't be able to catch up with, because although they have that background, like even blacks too, like they evolved in a context with all these tribes that were constantly at war. Most other groups have a much stronger sense of in-group, or, East Asians, they grew up in clan structures of extended families.
Is that where it comes from? This reinforcement of in-group preference among these other groups of non-whites versus us, where it seems to be kind of weak with us.
We're exceptional. Yeah, we're weird, right? It's like other groups didn't have a similar background. Part of it, the East Asian versus European thing, people say it's a wheat versus rice issue, where rice demands a large extended family or a clan collaborate in the harvest. You have to flood fields. It's very labor intensive. Whereas wheat, you can raise and cultivate wheat with just a single nuclear family. So the nuclear family has been the organizational principle of Western European societies. And then we had the church too, over the last 1,000 years, that banned cousin marriage up to the fifth cousin. So like you basically had to leave your hometown to find a mate, whereas no other country did that. No other civilization did that to a comparable degree. And Europeans are the most like tightly integrated, genetically speaking, race as a result. Ironically, the other races have a stronger sense of in-group preference because they remained clannish and tribal and in constant competition with their neighbors. We became more universal as Europeans within Christendom, And so we integrated more genetically and yet never developed this sense of in-group because there was no out-group present. It was a universal Christian enlightened civilization. So no one else did that. And I think it's both a weakness, but also our fundamental strength. It's why we produce genius, I think, at an extraordinary rate. Ed Dutton talks about this theory where effectively geniuses don't really benefit genetically from what they produce. Their civilization benefits, their people benefits.
Absolutely.
And because we had
Sure.
this big homogeneous society that was so high trust, our geniuses led to us becoming a lot more powerful, even though they themselves weren't reproducing. Other civilizations didn't have the same strategy. They didn't produce people like that. Even though East Asians had high IQs, they still have high IQs. Well, they're conformist. They're very bound by convention. They're very bound by their familial structures and obligations. We tolerate somebody being out of the box and coming up with something new, and we're open-minded to listen to what they come up with and adopt it. So I think there's really no competing with that, and it's why European civilization spread around the world in an unprecedented way in a span of only a few hundred years, and why everyone around the world is using mostly European inventions. So, like, believe in yourselves, and we'll be fine. We just have to actually organize, because they have built this very dangerous system that's constantly luring us into distractions and hedonism and greed. And like a lot of people, they would like to join something like Return to the Land, but they're just sure that they won't be able to make as much money as if they live in the city where they make whatever, working for the beast system or working for the Jews or whoever they're working for government. And I don't think it's true. I think we can build new businesses. I think we can find ways of employing each other, not immediately. And if you have a really good job in the city, I understand. I'm not saying like quit your job and join the movement full time immediately, but everyone has to be engaged and involved. And we have to look at it like we have a unique ability to bootstrap the best kind of society, better than anything we've had before, because we have more access to information than ever before. And I think there's a burgeoning culture on the right that is technologically sophisticated, ideologically sophisticated, not totally in consensus yet, right? We don't have enough discussions. We're not really working out, we're not ironing out the details in what we all believe. And that is like an indispensable ingredient. But
I think a couple of things on this. So I want to circle back for a second on tithing. I think you were right about that. I think that this is a loss for us, that we don't have an in-group code that we should be investing in our own people. And I think that's something that needs to be absolutely remedied. I think this is something that, because we don't have that, we have no resources as a collective often, at least by default. So this makes it so that these other groups who do, they have a one-up advantage on us, especially when it comes to a society like America, which is fundamentally litigious in how it's organized. We need to have our stuff in place so that it's in advance. It's a priori. It's not after the fact. Once, oh no, we're having a crisis, help everybody. It has to be like, we have to be ready to see it coming. Like you guys are talking about that. I think that's a absolutely cutting edge compared to so much else of what I've seen, where it's wait until we get in a problem, then hope everybody comes to our assistance. That's not the way. We have to have it prepared in advance. I think that's totally it's just the critical thing that we're missing, really.
Right. Well, people have been hesitant to accumulate resources under the banner of organizations because they're afraid of the lawfare, because they were sure that simply organizing as white people would get us shut down, would get this huge target on our back. And for a lot of even recent history, that was the case. It probably wasn't safe to do a lot of this organizing rather in the 90s, under Obama, certainly. But right now we have a unique opportunity. I don't like a lot of the things that Trump has done. I disagree with, obviously, the Iran war, his relationship with Israel. And he has let us down time and time again. It's like he promised to altered the H-1B program. Actually, we're increasing H-1Bs. It's like just everything that he promises, you end up getting the opposite. However, there is a cultural change with his presence that is real, and all of the judges he's appointed, like, they will remain on the bench, and it will have a significant cultural impact. The people in the bureaucracy, the people in government. Trump was dog whistling white identitarian sentiments back in 2016. He wasn't sincere in them, but a lot of the people who believed in him and got on board his train, they took him seriously. So, that we have an opening. It's not guaranteed to remain. Yeah, it's not guaranteed to remain forever. But I think if we ever could build up this network of organizations and compete for our own interests like other groups do, it's now. And it's not just the people in government, it's also the information technology where the message is getting out there. And I think it's impossible to put the genie back in the bottle at this point. It's like, I thought for a while, okay, X is the one platform that's doing this. But it's great. Now we can actually post somewhere. But then, like, now Instagram is Instagram, full. Yeah. They're watching Hitler speeches. It's like, right. What happened? Yeah, I thought that's where, like, teenage girls posted whatever. Totally. So, yeah, I mean, it's a unique cultural moment. I think we've never had more progress for our perspective. And now, okay, the environment culturally has been primed. The metapolitics is sort of done. It's like we kept talking about metapolitics for years. All right, well, people have come around. People in important positions have come around. Elon Musk says some pretty, like, radically pro-white things on a regular basis, actually. And yeah, he's not funding these, legal advocacy groups and things like that yet. But it's been a taboo for so long that white people didn't need organizations like that because there's already institutional white supremacy. The leftist hegemony was so powerful, people actually bought the bullshit there. And now I think people are seeing the opposite. They're seeing and talking about anti-white discrimination. And so it's sort of like, I don't know, I think the rebound from the white identitarian side as a response to the non-white coalition identity politics system, it's like they primed it in a way. They set up the context where that's normative, that's how politics is done, and now white people adopt it. Well, guess what? We still are the majority in this country. So when the majority adopts identity politics, obviously that's a different kind of game that you're now playing, and new things become available as options very, very quickly. So when people say you're just running away to the woods, they clearly have no idea what we're actually doing and what this is actually about. You secure your right to freely associate so that you can organize. You start building grassroots organization that's crowdfunded in a legal capacity and also as a social aid and educational resources and, insurance funds and things like that, our own credit union, to build up the support of that grassroots. But once you have a few of those organizations that don't get shut down, that do get some victories under their belts, well, then people with resources will start to take notice. And then you can have really consequential organizations forming. And then it's like, I've taken this let's build parallel systems approach, but it's not like I would be totally against allowing a lot more substantive changes to take place really quickly. And right now I am seeing, like, if we keep the momentum going, if we build what we need to do, if we do our part, we've already changed the culture, fine. They're ready for us now to do what we need to do. We do that, then the wealthy people start entering the equation, right? And we build even bigger things. Then who knows? There's really no limit. Again, we are the majority. Yeah. We are the majority, and we have the smartest people.
You guys you'll have established the proof of concept, right? You'll have pushed out the minimum viable product at that point. So then the people with money will maybe take interest and say, wait a minute, I've wanted to do this, but, I haven't really wanted to piss my money away. I talk about this all the time. People that have, millions of dollars plus, what they don't do is squander money on dumb projects. Otherwise, they wouldn't have that money very long. So when you can actually show that you guys had an idea, you saw it through, it worked, and it was a successful model, that's the dam breaking moment. And then once that happens, it's all up from there. There will be so many new ideas that will emerge from that. And there is kind of a, like you alluded to before with the Trump thing, there's kind of a trickle down effect where it changes the environment, it changes the sort of milieu that's in the air, and all of a sudden, you're in kind of a whole new paradigm. Really, people all of a sudden thinking about these things differently, and people are applying this new mentality. There's a freeing, I think, whereas before it had been held down. Once it's proven successful, I think that will make a huge difference as far as normalizing it too. There have been several things in society that have been sort of unjustly maligned, that once they get a little bit of a chance, they can prove themselves, and then people go, oh, well, we just had that backwards. So, I think that we could see a huge thing for that. And I think this thing about us being the technical majority still, maybe we don't have a ton of time, but we still got some time. So we have time to prove it, I think, still as of now.
Yeah. I mean, it's really up to us, I think. Going in more of like a metaphysical direction, I think you get the world that you deserve, and if you let an opening like this just pass you by, it's like you believe all of the things you need to believe. You've learned everything you need to learn. You've gone on the ideological journey. Okay. And also, everyone else is kind of getting there. The moment is ripe for some kind of change, doing something, and you're still, well, I'm afraid that, I'm going to get doxxed, I'm going to lose my job, I'm afraid that this is going to happen, or I just can't afford it. I think we have it's a serious issue. We have a lot of highly motivated people who, it's not just that they make a lot of money, it's that they do a lot with their time. Pareto's principle, like 20% of a workforce does 80% of the work that gets done. And that is very true. But with white people especially, I think, I remember being discouraged from being ambitious and wanting to ascend to the top of corporate ladders or to get that kind of job. I think because, the liberal California boomers who were educating me didn't want to see more white men at the top of those hierarchies. So why would they encourage me? Right. I ended up going to school for music because I was like, well, that's kind of unobjectionable. I enjoy it. And a lot of white millennials, especially born in the 90s, when the economy was looking like it was just going to be up and up forever, they ended up pursuing career paths that weren't really viable, that were more luxuries, partly because, again, they weren't encouraged to really have that ambition, because now it's like the brown people's turn or it's women's turn, like white men just kind of back off. And that has had ripple effects and has set a cultural tone. And it's really never too late to get really ambitious and do some big things. And especially when we have our own business networks to do it, where you're not on your own. It's one thing to pick up some books on like a business mindset. This is what I did in my early 20s. I bought Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I bought all these books and I read them, and I had sales jobs, and I was like, I'm going to business networking events in my local town and meeting people. And then I got a job doing mortgages for a little while, and I realized very quickly, it's like, I don't want to be anywhere near these people for any longer than I have to be. And so then I quit, and I went and worked blue collar jobs for the rest of my working adult life, which ended up being more lucrative anyway, because there's a lot of blue collar jobs that actually pay pretty well if you're willing to relocate and do what it takes. However, we don't have to go through that process alone. And rather than reading the right business mindset book, well, you can meet someone who has 200 employees and is a business owner. You can meet someone who like manages rental properties all over the Southeast. Or like there are people in our networks with serious skills, serious experience, and they actually want to help young people come up and make a difference in their own lives. It's the ambition, the drive, the I am going to put in the work every day on the part of young people. That's the limiting factor. It's not that there's not enough investment that could, it's like what you said about like proof of concept. There are investors who want to invest in pro-white things on the business side too, but it's a lot of unproven people who are even flaky in online communication very often.
Yes, thank you. Unfortunately, that's the reality, man. Is a lot of the guys, they have great like ambition and they'll say it, but then, there's not a lot of follow through, or worse, there's like a really wild up and down in their personality. It's really they're all over the place. You don't know where they're going to be. Where maybe they're going to drive forth and achieve it, but also maybe they're going to just burn all these bridges that they've just built because they woke up one day and felt like they needed to. You can't welcome big money and big investments and big, including human and time investment as well, into an environment or with leadership like that. So that's absolutely something we need to have changed. And I'm glad you guys. Every time I've seen you guys' stuff, and I say you guys as like the whole of the people I've seen representing RTTL, you guys seem very level-headed. I don't think generally, I don't see like you guys getting into a whole lot of conflicts or one guy's raging out or something. I don't see any kind of like drama freakouts or anything with you guys, which I think that's great.
We keep a lid on it is what happens. Like it happens. All right.
Right.
It's always going to happen in a big organization. Sure. Frankly, we just kick those people out. So
what happens with that? So let me ask you that as far as people that are interested in joining. Well, what happens when there's maybe a mismatch? Maybe people don't fit. What do you guys do? You just buy them out and say, have a good life?
Yeah. So for the LLC that owns land here, we do have processes where they'll be fairly compensated. I can't say exactly how that takes place,
sure.
But yeah, obviously people want that assurance going in that people aren't just going to decide they don't like them or they don't approve of whatever personal decision they made, and they'll be out their investment. So no, we do have processes involving like appraising the property and everything that they've built up. But yeah, at the association level, it's a lot simpler. I mean, there aren't a lot of ties as far as you're in our group chats, you paid your, membership fee, $25. It's not going to be the worst thing in the world if you lose access to Telegram chats. I think it is consequential that you are no longer in the association for the future, but we're not going to be the only organization doing things like this. Hopefully those people learn their lessons and they can try again with other organizations in a better way and get a better footing. But yeah, we kick out a lot of people, not like a huge number. And it is more level-headed people, I think, that end up being attracted to our group. A lot of the groups out there put out much more radical messaging. They're like either explicitly National Socialists, and we have a lot of National Socialists who join, because we ask about ideology. But I think if we just like glorified Hitler in public media presentations, like we would attract a very different kind of person. And I like the kind of person that we actually do attract. It's also the fact that like I happen to be the guy with the social media account that was involved from the beginning. And again, I didn't invent the majority of the legal framework. I didn't really put, on the ground a lot of the community together in the first months. I was involved, but I wasn't like the lead guy pushing it. I just happened to have a YouTube channel. And at the time I was like, I think 12K I started out at back then. And but it was a philosophy channel. And so I talked to people like Keith Woods about Plato and, did content of a more intellectual nature. And so we got a lot of very high IQ people right it up front, where the only people who knew about it were people watching my YouTube channel.
That helps.
So that was a big help. Yeah. I think the average IQ of our association is much, much higher than the general public. Nowadays, applicants, it's probably more, close to the average. But we got the, conscientious, more introverted too. Ironically, it's like a community project kind of thing, but it's more introverted ideas, people that showed up in the beginning, and they set the tone. And I think that was very, very valuable. And we still reward people like that. And, a lot of people find a kind of community with us that they really couldn't find anywhere else, because it's also, a lot of sensitive young men who have like big ideas and are looking for an outlet.
I think I heard of you guys first through Asha Logos, actually. I don't think he called it Return to the Land, but I think he kind of alluded to what this was and kind of outlined the vision of what was happening with this. Is that true, or am I thinking of something else? It was a different project, maybe?
Yeah, well, Asha had put out calls to create communities even before we got started. I'm going to, I had been doing it first, to be fair. I was on YouTube advocating first, but he made really good videos advocating it. And he did come up with the term Return to the Land,
really?
Or at least popularized it in our circles. And then he asked me to lead X Spaces for him on the concept and how we could actually get started. And so I did. And we had already established a private Telegram group with most of the actual co-founders, and we're already planning on meeting up late 2023 when this all happened. But like, we took the alliance with Asha Logos as an obvious great opportunity. And yeah, a lot of people found out at that point through the X Spaces, met a lot of people there. And he never made like a video about our Return to the Land, but we did take his phrase "Return to the Land" and we ran with it. Those spaces were fun. We should really do more X Spaces talking about community building, because there's a lot more enthusiasm now for it than there was even 2 years ago. So,
yeah, I mean, as we wind down, let me kind of ask you about that a little bit. What have you seen in the change of that? Because I know I've seen it too, just as an outsider, just kind of watching the overall landscape. People have definitely got a much stronger taste for this idea that maybe we just go do our own thing. Maybe we just break off and go to our own thing. So, I mean, have you seen it from sort of more of an inside perspective that there's been this exponential increase? Because it seems like that.
100%. Yeah. No, and exponential is the right model, because, like I said, back in 2012, when very soon after making my channel and very soon after getting red pilled on race and crime and demographic change, I just immediately realized our only serious option is this. This is like the way forward. And I was alone basically in that belief for years. Now, once in a while, someone would speak positively about the possibility, but in a very, nebulous kind of way. And I was putting out models and saying like, oh, we could organize it in this way, and we need schools, and they should run like this. So I felt I had basically given up entirely on the possibility that people would get behind it and there would be enough energy and support to really do it. When this actually came together, people showed up so the actual first community. Our meetup in September of 23 was to build a facility on land that I owned for hosting young men in camps, basically for education and media production. So that's what it was going to be. We didn't actually do that because very quickly it snowballed way beyond that, and we ended up buying 160 acres and building the community instead.
Wow.
But they did show up, and we worked on this building together. If anyone wants to do something like this, besides all the logistics and legalities, it is really, really important that you don't just meet up and hang out. If you're going to get together with people who you want to work with in the future, get together and work. Work parties are so essential. I now realize.
Particularly for men.
Yes.
Men. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It just, if you've ever been on a construction crew, for example, you have a sense of camaraderie with the guys you're working with. You just don't have anywhere else. If you've been in the military, that's why there's like homoeroticism, because you get so close with the guys in the military. Or a sports team, like this dynamic happens everywhere. But you really need to be sharing a common purpose and putting in sweat equity on a regular basis. So we did that. And then, it ballooned into this project. And the membership numbers, I mean, it was slowly kind of coming in when that like barrier was broken and people knew, oh, now there's a 160-acre community, really? And you're all like aligned ideologically and it's just happening. That I think opened a first floodgate where a lot more people who had been watching me, for example, suddenly thought, okay, this is actually viable. I don't want to miss out on this. I'm going to join too. And that was like the first ratchet up, was that step. And then like other people started seeing it, and there have been like not copycat, but other organizations and other groups doing similar things and feeling good about it and talking about it openly. And then the numbers just kept going up, and we had our first get together, our first April event, which it helped that it was when that eclipse came through. And so, and we had the full eclipse, we had the totality. So there were a large number of people who came to our community for that. And then the next event remained very large, even though there was no intrinsic draw. And then the media started finding out, and more people started talking about it.
R/Jewish broke the news. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's you take the good with the bad, right?
Right.
And we probably wouldn't be under investigation. We probably could have flown under the radar in a lot of ways if we hadn't been so public. But now it's gotten to this point where it's a mainstream idea, and millions of people are seriously considering, white people, if that would actually be the best thing for their family. So yeah, if we set precedent, I think it could be, that would be the next ratchet up. And it's already much bigger than I thought it ever could be. You know, in my lifetime, I thought it would always be this marginal solution, like for a few people who returned to the land and tried to live an alternative lifestyle, and that it would just be like we get accused of being, like running away. That's sort of what I expected it to be at a certain level, but it's definitely more than that. And I also just have come to accept that I will always be surprised with how this develops, that it's not in my hands or even the hands of the people I trust around me. There's a bigger thing at work, especially in this, but like in your life, you know, it's like, who really plans every detail of their life? Things kind of proceed according to a will that's larger than us for the most part. But especially with this, there's been so many synchronicities and coincidences and people introducing themselves at the right time and things just falling together that, you know, I've learned to just have faith in that process, and yeah, I'm very curious to see where it goes. Win or lose, there's a big future that will come out of this. Hopefully, we do win. I want to win. So
you guys were exploring in Idaho, right? Because you guys were looking in the sort of Coeur d'Alene area. I saw your video on that one. How's that?
Yeah,
how's that develop?
There are people up there. They have projects going on. I'm not going to talk about specifics. Sure. There are other communities ongoing. It's not just the community in the Ozarks, but we can't talk about particular locations and exactly what's happening.
Sure.
If you become a member, then you can have access to that information. But we're really pushing also the recreational property initiative now, where it's not just about communities, and that's kind of hard to throw in investment to plan on totally moving and changing your lifestyle. Instead, it's like, well, you probably live within a couple hours drive of a bunch of people in the movement. And if you all had a site that you could own together and build up over time, there was a nice place to get together and camp and have a good time, like that would be a huge value add. So that initiative is going well. But all of it, at the end of the day, yes, there is this motivating spirit, it seems like, that's like looking after us. But unless we put in the work, nothing else happens. And I think it gets down to the level where if you put in the work, if you contribute your part, then the rest will happen. If you don't, well, then you don't really deserve the world where it all just works out, you know, and God gives you what you deserve. So.
Well said. You know, I don't think it comes by just wishing. You have to actually, you know, have the vision, then you have to take the action. Otherwise, it ain't going to happen. So, yeah, well said,
True.
man. Yeah, I think since we should, it's probably about time. You mind if we go to super chats and questions and what have you and call it a good show? All right. Let's check it out. Let's see what people got going on here. Oh, that was quite loud. Sorry about that. All right, let's see. All right, let's hit that one then first. Did it show up already? Should have shown up here. Let's see, oh, there it is. That's why it wasn't popped up. Void Rage says, amazing show, and all the best to Eric and RTTL. Well, I agree, absolutely. Thank you, Void Rage. Additionally, here we have Void Rage. Let me see, super chats here somewhere. Okay, and we'll go scroll all the way back to the top here. Edward Snowman, if I can get to him. There it is. He just said the default message there, which is thank you for your great content. Well, thank you for supporting it. If I can find the... that's what I was looking for. There we go. Edward Snowman, thank you, sir. Going down the list here. Bushmaster also says the same thing. It says that's the default comment. Ethno-Nationalist. Big shout out to Ethno-Nationalist. Says support a great guest on the show. I agree. Thank you for supporting it, Ethno-Nationalist, and thank you for coming on, Eric. It's appreciative. I'm very appreciative that you came on.
Sure. Well, I felt bad. So I got to know you in the first place because our chat got raided. You were in our live chat.
Yeah.
And a bunch of your enemies came on and falsely accused you, and we believed them because, like, we didn't know who you were. We banned you.
Right. No, I know.
So I felt like...
No, it's okay, man.
Make it right.
It's okay. It's okay. They're very mad. They're very mad. So, it's justice, It's not the first time I've been introduced to somebody by people looking to sow mistrust and sow dissension and just cause trouble. It usually backfires, which is just really a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful message to get out there. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just like, if you don't like people, like, just move on. There's no reason for these people to even be involved. They should just go do their own thing. They should take a hint from the RTTL thing. You're not out there going to war with the blacks or the Jews or something. You're just going to do your own mission, and you're not, you know what I mean. Just let them be. We're gonna go do our own thing. So I would hope that would pass on, but I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't work. That how the internet is. Yeah, absolutely. But no, it's all right, man. I mean, it's funny because I think it's one of these things where if you don't know what it is, you don't know. I mean, who do you trust? Who do you trust when you have a bunch of people saying the same thing? That's kind of what
it was so many people. I was like, well, this guy's got to be a bad actor. Better kick him.
Right. Well, I mean, I sunk the Lusitania and I signed the, the Hart-Celler Act and all that other good stuff. Flood says, I was watching this show on another show. Apparently some people who set you up got banned last week or something. Very, very mad that you have Eric on. Thanks, Eric, for all you do. Yeah, I think that's what he's referring to. So I'm glad you brought it up first. But yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, that's what he's referring to. They're not too happy about that. But you know what? Yeah, tough luck, tough luck. It's a kind of karma in a way. Thank you, Flood. Hail, Flood. Flood makes AI videos and AI audiobooks and stuff like this.
Oh, yeah? I haven't seen
it. I should introduce you. He does a show now that's called Elysium, where it's literally kind of, it's very in your lane with your original YouTube channel. It's literally like a forum thing where someone can come up and give a lecture, where it's not an interview like this, where it's a back and forth at all. It's just you go up there and you just give a speech for however long to communicate your ideas. It's pretty cool. He's had some really good people doing it, and it might be really powerful, to get the word out.
Yeah, actually, please do. I'm probably going to use that platform to talk about like Atlantis or something, but
I'm sure he'd be cool with that too. Absolutely. I'll have to put you in touch. Burn Before Reading says, hail RTTL, 07 and 0/. Hail Burn Before Reading. Thank you, sir. Actually, Burn Before Reading. Let's see if there's any other. Michael says, long live FTJ. I think they will. Frank De Silva, you know him? Good fella.
Yeah, we've spoken.
Yeah, good fella. Good past. Good mentor. He was just saying hi there. See if I could get a little... Just look for the other ones. Let's see if there's any... I think there's a question somewhere in here, but I kind of saw it fly by at some point there. Scrolling down. Okay. Oh, sure. Am I missing anything? Oh, no. Okay, I'm actually caught up. Southern Skies. He says, great show and amazing guest. Eric, great show and amazing guest. Eric, look into Hydrograph Clean Power ticker symbol HGRAF on Schwab. Excellent company that can really help you generate some capital down the road, not financial advice. Well, that's interesting. What is that? Let me see. Let me see if I can pull that up on the thing. Hydro Clean.
It's
See if I can find that. I think it's some sort of like hydropower thing that he's talking about, like an investment in it or something. Here.
HGRAP.
Yeah, Hydrograph Clean Power Inc. See, it's very interesting. Okay.
I'll look at it. Sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting tip. I wonder what they're all about there. It must be it must be something to do with I don't know, hydropower. It sounds like very interesting.
I get a lot of DMs like this, like vague post DMs about, hey, you should look into this. I'm like, but why? What is it?
Give me a little background, man. Yeah, no, totally. I wonder if he's saying anything. He says they make pristine graphene. I think he's saying it's some kind of graphene tool thing or infrastructure thing, and I guess this might have something to do with Arkansas. I'm taking it.
I'll look at it.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Hopefully, there's something to that that's useful. Thank you, Southerners, guys. Vocational Science of Freedom. There, cool fellow there. He says, I would like to ask, I have many people that want to start an RTTL kind of plan. If people join up with RTTL, do they have access to the organizational path to do what you have done in regards to law and land and PMA creation? It's a good question.
Yeah, we have a process. So I can tell some of that. Essentially, we help people form committees. Everything moves forward because you have committees and you have meetings and you take notes and you publish those notes and people give you feedback. And like you have to organize your communication in the first place. So we have people who want to do communities create a committee and do a certain amount of preliminary research, and we'll tell you what to look up, what particular codes in your county. And it needs to be even at the county level, state and county. And then once that research is done, we will like give you a model prospectus for like, here's what we're looking for here's your plan laid out and what aspects have to be there. And then once you send us that initial prospectus, then we bring in the legal support, we bring in like all the resources from the top down and help you get it done, right? And you wouldn't have to necessarily create your own PMA. It's sort of unnecessary. You can do it under RTTL. We're very decentralized. You can have your own community with your own, it can be all Christian, it can be all pagan, it can be whatever you want it to be, essentially, as long as it's compatible with our values, which are quite broad. It's, European identity, traditional values. That's 99% of us, right? But yeah, we'll help you set it up. And there's really no reason not to join at this point. If for no other reason, then you access a bunch of people who are going to be like-minded and who probably want to do the same thing.
That's really cool. It almost sounds like almost a franchising thing. It sounds like almost like, you can spread it via that, and either they'll branch out under the umbrella of RTTL or they'll make their own. Either way, I think it's beneficial on the whole, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Absolutely. Cool. Any way you should get in contact or just try to join the usual route?
Yeah, if someone wanted to apply, they could apply at returntotheland.org.
Absolutely.
You have it pulled up, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's returntotheland.org, and there's a section, right? It's kind of cropped off there, but it says members there. So you go there, log in or apply. So I guess you would know where you fit in if you're going to the site. So very cool. If people do apply, you said there's a membership fee. How much is this? I think it's like $25 or something.
Yeah,
it's not very much.
It's a one-time $25 membership fee. You have to charge something,
sure,
to be recognized as a PMA legally, and like there have to be some kind of membership dues, right? So ours is one time. It's $25. We made it minimal, and then it takes a lot of like logistical work to manage all the applicants.
Oh yeah,
and so like. The interviewers, you will have a live interview with one of our staff, more or less. They're not like paid full time, but we do pay them a little bit of that $25 to do your interview because it's a lot of time. Like we have guys who have done essentially full-time work just handling interviews all week. Like just the other day, I think there were 40 applications just in one day.
Wow.
So
crazy.
Yeah, it can be pretty overwhelming.
You guys probably don't publish your total membership numbers, right? It's not a
No.
okay.
No.
Yeah, that's smart though too. Actually, now that I think about that, it's smart. That's excellent. So, yeah, I'll just say thank you for coming on, man, and thank you for telling us about it. I really wish you guys the absolute best. If there's anything I can do, let me know to help. I will say to everybody, support this stuff, man, because the fight that they're going to have is critical for all of us. Whether you like what RTTL specifically is doing or not isn't even really the issue so much as it's like this is kind of paving the way, especially if they can push this and this ends up in the Supreme Court. That's everything, man. This is probably one of the bigger issues that we're going to have on the table in the next decade. And if they can win this, they can pave the way for how we're supposed to go about setting up our own separatism efforts. So I'll absolutely encourage everybody to do that. Anyway, I'll let you go back to your Saturday night. Thank you very much, Eric, for coming on. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good
Absolutely.
talk.
Thank you.
All
Yes,
right.
sir. Take care.
Take care.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you all soon. I hope everybody has a good Saturday. And with that, I think I will say good night. Let me actually quickly do this real quick. Move these things. All right, let me go there. Thank you, everybody, if you supported the show. We'll see you soon. If you can, please do support the effort of the Return to the Land movement in their legal fund. Have a good Saturday night. Have a good weekend. We'll see you all soon. Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night. Good night. Hit the like button on the way out if you're on Rumble. Thank you if you shared the link, and thank you if you supported the show. Oh, that's not the outro. Oh, no. Okay, there's the outro.
One truth can break a foundation as though it were made of glass. One truth can create a new vision of